Donald Trump has announced the External Revenue Service for his tariffs and collections of revenue on foreign sources. And I am all here for it, baby. Now, I don't know. It's tough, right? Because I know the libertarians are going to be like, Tim, he's creating another government department. Don't trust it. And I'm like, fair point. Look, I love tariffs. I love me some tariffs. I hate free trade agreements. And we'll talk all about that. We actually have a debate coming up next week where we're going to break it all down. But yeah, I do have concerns that creating a new government department to tax people is not going to work out the way we hope it will. You know, the income tax was originally supposed to be, like 3% on only the wealthiest individuals. And now everybody gives a third or more of their income to the government. To be fair, when you include sales tax, income tax, property tax, the average person's paying more than 50% of their income in taxes. It's like, I work for a living. I got to pay taxes. I get that money, the government takes some. I then go to the grocery store to buy food, government takes some. I then have to buy gas for my car, government takes some. I then go to my house where I get a bill in the mail for my taxes and the government takes more. I can't even live on a piece of land with the government walking up and saying, you got to pay me every year. Actually, it's quarterly installments. Gimme. So part of me says, I don't know that we need another one of these, but I'm a fan of tariffs. And if Donald Trump moves in a tariff direction, away from a taxing the U.S. people direction, like we do, you know, Trump saying get rid of the income tax and do tariffs only. I don't know that in the economic sense, it's going to work out the same way. Not that I think income tax works out greatly for us. It's a screwed up system, but the idea, the issue around tariffs is not, to me, an economic question. It's a cultural question. But let's read the news first. Here we go from Reuters. Trump says he will create the External Revenue Service to collect revenue from foreign sources. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump says tariffs, duties, and all revenue. Through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements, the American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It's time for that to change. We will begin charging those that make money off us with trade, and they will start paying, finally, their fair share. Hear, hear. Trump has pledged to impose big tariffs on our three largest partners, Canada, Mexico, and China, including a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico until they clamp down on drugs and migrants crossing the border. He has also vowed to impose tariffs on 10% of global imports into the U.S., along with a 60% tariff on Chinese goods. Duties that trade experts say would upend trade flows. Don't know, don't care. Well, Mexico's responding. The Mexican president saying she might avoid those day one tariffs. Well, you can try your best, lady, but that basically means when Donald Trump says no more illegal immigrants, otherwise we do the tariffs, how do you avoid them? Well, you do what Trump says, if you know what I'm saying. Let me tell you about tariffs, my friends. Let me tell you about free trade. So we're doing this debate show. We're going to have Brad Palumbo, Libertarian guy, and Elijah Schaffer. And the reason why it's Elijah Schaffer, and I'm probably, it might be 2-on-1, so it might be fair for Brad to have somebody else. But the reason is because Brad entertained free trade as an economic question. This is why I am not a libertarian. It is why I largely don't agree with the Libertarian Party, though we are friends, because we agree on a lot of things. And that's good enough for me, because I'm all about coalition building, right? Libertarians view trade and immigration as a numbers game. They don't care about pancakes for breakfast. They don't care about going to a baseball game, having a slice of warm apple pie. They don't care about Christmas morning. They don't care about Pizza Hut and the Book It personal pizza I got when I was a kid. Now, look, man, I know times change. The Pizza Hut thing's largely fun and funny. It's nostalgic. But when you look at McDonald's, when you look at Pizza Hut, you wonder why it is how they became sterile, brutalist mall stores. McDonald's used to have a play place. I'll tell a story that I've told before, so bear with me. Let me say this. I periodically have to add this. A lot of people are like, Tim, I watch every one of your videos, and sometimes you repeat stories. It's because the average person watches out of 22 seconds. What do we do? We do 5, 6, 10, like 11 segments per day, and the average person watches 3. So here's the deal. Right? Now that you know that, for the context of this, Back in the day, people started selling skateboards. And in order to promote the skateboards, they sponsored skateboarders, went to public parks, and had big events. Families would come down. They'd see a flyer at the grocery store, at the butcher shop, at the dairy, like whatever, because there was all these different stores for all these different products. And it would say, this Sunday, skateboards. And they'd say to their kids, like, why don't we go take a look at that? They'd show up, and there would be the guys who make the skateboards, owner of the company, and a few sponsored skateboarders. And they'd put on a show and get kids interested. Little kids would start buying skateboard products because the business wanted to sell the product. Little kids would get good at skateboarding. Skateboarding industry expands. With more skateboarders, there's more influence, more interest, video games, movies. Man, it all happened. And then comes the free trade. See, in the early days, you'd have a shop. You'd have 5 guys making skateboards. They had kids. They'd come home and say, take a look at this sample. The kids would skate. The dads would skate. The friends and family would come by the house and see the skateboards. That was culture building. It built awareness. It created an anchor in the mind of the people about what this sport and this pastime was. And then something happened. Company pops up and says to some venture capitalists, guys, with these new free trade agreements with China, we can get skateboards made for $1. So we don't need to hire 5 guys at home anymore. We can hire 15 Chinese guys for the same rate. What happens? The local skateboard shop can't compete with the prices. The big guys extract the value. They send wood from North America to China for slave labor and sent back. What happens? There's no more workers who have kids. Less kids are skateboarding. Less kids are buying product. Now, let's say you have 100 kids who skate. As they get older, they will stop skating. The dad says, you know, hey, look, son, here's a skateboard I made at my shop today. That's 1 kid skating. The big company comes in and says, there's 100 skateboarding kids. We can sell our boards $5 cheaper and make $10 more profit with Chinese slave labor. So they do. Those kids start buying product X from China. The local shop can't compete and goes out of business. There's no more dads showing their kids skateboards. There's no more local events to promote skateboarding. So what happens? 10 years later, there's 50 skateboarders. And that skateboard shop who has been selling to China goes, sales are down. What do we do? Over a long enough period of time, this guts the culture, destroys it. And that is the problem of free trade. So these libertarians come out and they say, but the numbers are good. Yeah, the numbers on corn and avocados. But what about the things I care about? What about the things that I love about this country? What about the communities and the culture? It's unquantifiable, as Sam Hyde pointed out. So, my friends, these Democrats, these libertarian types, not all libertarians, but many of them, and the neocons, when they say free trade means 3% growth year over year, they're telling you, we will destroy everything you love, all of your memories, the places you cared about, and we will do it because it'll make us more money. But what the do I care about money for if I can't buy the things I love, if I can't buy skateboards, if I can't go to a skate park? It's not just skateboarding, it's everything. Why do I care that I can buy a bigger house when it's in a garbage-stained neighborhood with crime and violence? This is what they propose. Everyone makes more money. Yeah. And our culture burns down because of it. I would rather be poor and hanging out with my friends and skateboarding and eating apple pie than be rich and being the king of ashes. For I believe it was the quote from Sun Tzu that evil men will burn down their countries to rule over the ashes. Not me. It's not the world I want to live in. So bring on the ERS, Trump. I'm worried. More government power and taxation and all that stuff. But I've seen what we've gotten from these neocon policies and these libertarian policies. I've seen how it's gutted and destroyed the industries and the cultures that I care about. So how about we say no to that? We push back, we stand up, and we actually bring about cultural changes that will reinvigorate this country and make it a better place. Let's roll, baby. I'll leave it there. I got one more segment coming up at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all then.